fans, I'm not even going to attempt to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you a white lie. I'm not going to tell you a partial lie. The truth is, this is likely the worst season y'all will have in the last 5 years.
Shut up the field. It's not a house game. It's not a house game.
Yeah, we the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, we the Buffalo Bills. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, yeah. Reppin' the mafia Bills, mafia, yeah. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Homie, now listen. Everyone play their position. Buffalo got a tradition. They say we tripping. They better get out our way. Top of the table, we flipping. We on a mission. Got an unstoppable team. Continue to follow your dream by any means. Buffalo, get in the Super Bowl ring. Cause we the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, we the Buffalo Bills. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, yeah. Reppin' the mafia Bills, mafia, yeah. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Mafia up in your city, time to get gritty. Screaming and yelling, we bugging. Look at the red and blue.
This is an MVP year for Josh Allen. As an MVP voter, I said this last week. Josh Allen, he looks like an MVP. When you vote for MVP, and I can speak for myself, I think I'm one of 50 voters, you look at a couple things. Who's the best team in football? Who's the best player on that team in football? What do they look like as the best player on that team in football? And how much talent is around that best player on that best team in football?
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Coast to Coast podcast. I am your co-host, Beyond716, and here as always with Little 2K. Today, episode 77. We get into the NFL draft preview. It is late February, a little bit of a slower time of year for Bills news. We had plenty, though, despite that. And 1 week before the madness starts off, and I'm not just talking college basketball, Whittle, I'm talking combine, I'm talking free agency, and we're on our way. So we are almost there. Whittle, how you feeling this week?
Feeling great, man. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. The combine started what was it, Tuesday? Meetings and things like that are going on today. We've already got some news on extensions, plenty to talk about and reference where the Buffalo Bills are concerned. Yeah, I mean it's shaping up to be, a typical offseason. The cap went up a lot more than I expected. I mean, it's gone up about $50 million over the last 2 years. So that's good news for Buffalo, as we have a good amount of young players coming off of their rookie deals and looking for extensions. We need to keep that young core around and continue to build off of that. But yeah, the combine, man. Here we go. This is the official start of the draft season. Yeah, it's the underwear Olympics, man. This is when
Yeah, I like
this
that.
is when
That's good.
things heat up.
Yep, absolutely. So we do have one of my favorite names ever to come into our chat. One of maybe my all-time favorite Buffalo Bill. Just want to give Bruce Smith a shout out there in our group chat. So I understand little football rest, but paying attention, I get that. But tomorrow, Whittle kicks off. Yeah, a lot of people look at free agency, and I just call free agency stupid money time, or it's like plus 33%. I always say look at every contract they overpay probably by 30% or so, right? That's something that the Buffalo Bills are not going to be heavily involved with. I don't anticipate, nor do I really think they should be. Those are for the teams with their $100 million of cap room. I call it Jacksonville Jaguars season. Yeah, I said it, but that's how it kind of feels. Like certain teams, right? That's their time to shine. to put in, their overpaid contracts and whatnot. But tomorrow, Whittle, it really kicks off, and we saw this past year the Philadelphia Eagles that won the Super Bowl. How did they build their team, right? Especially the defense that we
To the
want.
draft. Yep.
Draft, and they didn't. Besides Jalen Carter, it was a top 10 pick. They didn't get these guys in the high first round. They got them second, third, fourth round, and that's what I'm excited about. What we could do, with our 2 second-round picks. We don't have a third. We'll see how maybe after the draft we do. Who knows? Maybe we move out of the first round, pick up a third rounder. Who knows what Brandon Beane's going to do? But Whittle, I know this is your favorite time of year too. This is where the combine, and it's a very complex process, right? Because we looked at last year with Keon Coleman. You remember we were on that space, and when Keon ran that slow 40, and everybody started taking him off the boards. You were one of the few that said no, and there's other things you got to look at just besides 40 times. So that's the very interesting part of the whole process to me. And tomorrow, I believe, looking at the schedule, Whittle, we have tomorrow, Thursday, February 27th, 3 p.m., NFL Network, defensive lineman and linebacker and defensive lineman. So right off the bat, for us Bills fans, that's an interesting one. And then Friday is the defensive backs. So Thursday and Friday is a good time to watch the combine if you're a Bills fan.
Right. And that's the part that we're looking most forward to, is seeing those guys compete, because that's the major need. So so far, it's a couple things that we can discuss where the combine is concerned. That's where a lot of a lot of free agents go to discuss their next potential landing spot. If you take, like a lot of free agents go there, all of the not all the general managers, but I would say there's representation from every single NFL team there. So you're looking for a contract, that's where you go, and you get a chance to talk to everybody under one roof. And the Bills is certainly taking advantage of that. There's some young players that are of interest to Buffalo because of their fit to what we need. And they've already started taking meetings with these young players and have some other ones scheduled. So far, the ones I have of note, the Bills met with Landon Jackson, defensive end out of Arkansas. He's like 6'7", 6'7", like 275, something like that. So like another, the difference is, though, he's a lot more. I would say he's a little more bendy than Gregory Rousseau, but similar, big, tall, long defensive end. The defensive tackle position, Alfred Collins, one of my favorites that we'll talk about a little bit later today, out of the University of Texas, 6'5", 6'6", 320, very athletic guy. He celebrated one of his sacks this past year by doing a backflip from standing straight up, just did a backflip.
tackle,
No running start. Yeah, no running start, no nothing, just a backflip. I thought that was impressive. Kenneth Grant, the nose tackle from University of Michigan, 6'3", 330, 340. He is a mover, though. He is very, he is quick. So I'm gonna be interested to see what he runs in the 40, and we'll see how he does. Jamari Caldwell, defensive tackle out of Oregon. We talked a bit about him last week, and actually, we're going to talk about him next week. And he's a defensive tackle out of Oregon, 6'2", 340 pounds, 345, somewhere around there. But really, quick on his feet. Like, he's Jordan Phillips with an attitude, just a tad bit shorter, but similar style players where not crazy arm length, but very, very quick feet, good usage of their hands, and relentless chasing after the quarterback or ball carrier. Who Who else? Oh, Chris Paul Jr. We talked about him last week as well.
Yep.
Linebacker out of Ole Miss. I think that's one. Like, if I had to guess, I would say that's one of those. We're gonna take you if everybody else on our board at that point is gone and you're still there. We're gonna take you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they didn't say that to him, but that's what I would think that that's where he kind of falls into their plans. And scheduled to meet with the Buffalo Bills is Trey Amos. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been paying attention a little less than I was earlier. In the off season to some of these mock drafts because a lot of them are pretty dumb. But
Yep.
what I'm starting to see now is a lot of mock drafts have Jade Barron, another player that we're going to be looking at later, mocked to the Buffalo Bills at 30. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've been screaming Trey Amos or Jade Barron at 30 for about
Yep.
a month now.
Mm-hmm.
Because cornerback is a big need for the Buffalo Bills. So I would expect us to, address that early, especially because the drop off at corner is so steep after like the first, really after the first four guys. After the first four guys, it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like you don't really want to, you don't really want to take these other guys. I'll say five because Azaria Thomas. I think he's a day one starter type
Mm-hmm.
as well. But
And
Darian
when you
Porter's another guy. He's got a lot of got a lot of work to do. Siobhan Ravel, like there's the Benjamin Morrison. Those guys are really good players, not perfect. There's some injury concerns, there's some technique concerns, there's some play strength concerns there, but nonetheless, really, really good players. But guys that I expect to be there in the second round. So, I'm sorry, but go ahead. You were getting ready to say something.
Oh, no. About the corners, I agree with you. And you consider we don't know the future of Rasul Douglas, right? And our depth was exposed, especially in the AFC title game. So when
Right.
you factor those two things in, I mean, are we going to go out and make a trade for Jair Alexander? I mean, we don't know what the future could be there. And I was reading something about that Jonathan Allen, that defensive tackle from Washington, who I guess Washington's going to facilitate a trade, so enter another, front four guy into the mix. But I read that some scouts said he has 20 first round grades on defensive tackles. Now, I don't know if that's an exaggeration, Whittle, and I don't know if you agree with that comment, but doesn't that really speak to the depth of D tackle? And maybe you could start really looking at the Trey Amoses, and you can start looking, at the corner position, saying, yeah, this is something the Bills may address right away in the first round.
Yeah, 21st round grades is absolutely ridiculous. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
don't
who
see
said
that.
that. That's.
Yeah,
I would
I did a
say
double take. I'm like, huh? That seems like a lot,
uh,
but
I do think there are between the first and second round, you could squeeze 20 defensive tackles, just defensive tackles alone, um,
Mhm.
in there. Yeah. So that listen. If they were to trade for Jonathan Allen's scheduled to make, I think, $15 million this year. You sign him to an extension. I think he's 30. I think he's like
I'll
29
double
or
check.
30, something like that. Uh, I would consider him. Yeah, I would definitely consider him. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not sure
Yeah,
I would
30.
want to
Just
fish.
just turned 30 in January, so he'll be 30 this whole season coming up for
Yeah,
the
I
fifth.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak too much on it because I haven't watched enough of him
True.
this year. I know I
True.
know I know he's been a good player. I just haven't watched him with
Hmm.
I haven't watched him play with the intention of watching him to see how he would fit or what he
Hmm.
brings to the table in reference to the Bills. So I don't want to speak on him. I
Yep.
mean, listen, solid player, first round pick, first round talent. Been a mainstay on that Commanders front line for many years already. You know,
I really feel
I don't
Zach's
hate it.
comment here. I really feel
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
emoji. It's like, I
No,
don't know. I mean,
I get
it's
it.
not going to cost a ton. I mean, I'm not paying a second round pick for him at this point.
Right, 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 right,
You
right.
know.
Because you got to pay him.
Mhm.
Because you got to pay him too. So
Yep.
I think they end up with, if they want a day two pick, it's going to be a future day two pick. It's not going to be a day two pick this year. But I would give them some mid round picks for him. You know, if we're talking about a 4 and a couple of 5s, or a 4 or 5 and a 6 or something like that, sure, I would do that, and
Yeah.
then pay him, and then you're good. I think that's an avenue the Bills could go if, if at 30 they take a corner, and then the wide receiver that they didn't expect to be there at 56 is there, so you end up taking the wide receiver, then at 62 the
Hmm.
safety or is there, or flip flop, the safety at 56, and now you're like, well, I'm kind of running out of picks and I need to get a defensive tackle. Let me call Washington and see if they'll take my 4 and my 5 this year, and I'll give them a 3 next year, and they
Yeah.
say, yeah,
Hmm.
and we move like that. Maybe that's an avenue they go. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. But I'm excited with the meetings that have already
Hmm.
happened, and the meetings that are scheduled to happen. I'm sure that they'll meet with some other guys that we'll talk about today. Today we're going to feature the University of Texas, the
Hmm.
Longhorns. We're going to talk about some of their prospects. And yeah, next up, man, Sean McDermott and Brandon Bean had some press conferences
Hmm.
literally right before the combine started. I'll get right into Sean McDermott's comments. I thought I thought McDermott was way more forthright. Um, he shared a lot more than I expected. Obviously, there was the disgust in the loss, and happy that Josh Allen got the MVP, and he didn't skate around the issue with the defense. He said, what we all knew is that we were kind of exposed and we didn't cover as well as we did. The injuries kind of stink, but
Hmm.
the guys that we had on the field just didn't play well enough to for us to get past Kansas City. So he did mention, he talked about some of that stuff. He also talked in kind of, I don't want to say in great detail, but he did kind of single out a few players. He singled out Dalton Kincaid, who had a down year last year.
Hmm.
Um, he singled out um, the Cole Bishop. He singled out Keon Coleman, and I mean, and he spoke a little bit about Kyer Elam and as well, but not too much. But he definitely singled those three guys out, and I feel like they expect a lot more from those players. Even Dwayne Carter, like those guys came back. Some of those guys, well, all of those guys really came back from injuries and never um kind of never recaptured what initially we thought they were going to do,
Hmm.
or what we saw up until the point of their injury, with the exception of Cole Bishop. Cole Bishop got hurt in during the training camp, so he missed a good amount of what he needed to have to get him ready for the season. So, but I thought he played well after some of the mistakes in the Houston game. I thought he was I thought he was good against the Chiefs. I thought he got robbed of an interception against the Chiefs. I thought that
Agree.
he defended the run pretty well. I thought he was good. I thought he filled in admirably for Taylor Rapp. I wish we
Hmm.
had Rapp that game. I wish we could have had him and Bishop out there because um, we love Damar Hamlin, but Damar Hamlin was clearly overmatched in
Hmm.
coverage in that game, and you saw it. Same thing with Russell Douglas, but um, I was kind of surprised that Brandon Bean spoke as candidly as he did, but
Hmm.
I can't say that I disagree with what he was saying.
No, it's definitely a change, right, from McDermott over the last. Doesn't feel like just the last year. It's just something. Maybe it's just he turned 50. Who knows? Maybe it's his life perspective has changed. I mean, who really can tell, right? But I like this new McDermott. I really do. He looks a little more relaxed. He seems a little bit, not as uptight. But I like that he's not committal on Cole Bishop Little. I'm okay with that. He's still a young player. We saw the signs, right, in terms of what he could do. But I think that also gives you a little peek into maybe what the Bills may do in free agency or trade or the draft at the safety position. We just don't. They don't know what they're going to end up with when the smoke clears after that NFL draft process.
Right, right. And regardless of whether or not Cole Bishop is named the starter next year, there's a
Mhm.
spot for Cole Bishop. Like Cole Bishop was drafted to be the starter. I saw enough from Cole Bishop this year to be happy with where I think he could. And I think he'll be a starter. Like I can't see a reason why he would not end up being a starter. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm comfortable with saying it. At some point on his rookie deal, Cole Bishop is going to be a starting safety for the Buffalo Bills
Yes.
for the majority of the season, and it's
Mhm.
not going to be due to injury. I think it'll be due to play.
I
Um,
agree.
I've got a question from
Oh, we
uh,
have a question from Chris.
from Chris.
Yep.
Yep.
Any thoughts on Kenneth Grant meeting with the Bills and good stuff on the Jeremy and Joseph? Look at that. Whittle, you got some, all right? Listening. So there you are.
Yeah. No. So on the Kenneth Grant meeting, I I guess they think he might be there, or if he gets close enough that somebody they would be willing to trade up to go get. I don't feel like this is a draft that you should trade up for anybody because of the depth. Um, Adam Schefter, I think he tweeted out or said that the guy you get at 10, or the guy that you get at 10 or 11 is basically the same player you're going to get at 35. So
Hmm.
I agree. I don't think that there's. I think that there are a few special players in this
Hmm.
draft that stand out among the entire class. But after that, I just think that there's a ton of good players. Like I think after the first like maybe 6 or 7 guys, the next 50 players I think are really good players that are gonna end up going to a team and making an impact in year 1 or year 2. And you'll look back and say, my GM hit with this pick right here. So
Yep, I agree.
yeah.
I guess the only flip side is it could be a buyer's market in that case, where if teams are really not looking to trade up, but like you said, unless you're getting 60 cents on the dollar for that
Right.
trade up, let's say it's from like 30 to like 22, and some guy falls who was in your top 10. But even then, like you said, I'm not crazy about giving up maybe an extra second or an extra third or even next year or something like that. I just don't think that's some. I don't see Brandon Bean doing that in this draft. I agree with you 100%. This is a Brandon Bean's got to be loving this draft. It's really his type of draft all the way with the depth and on the defense.
Right. Um, I just think it was. I just think that you know this year it's kind of lining up exactly where we kind of want it to be with our needs and the talent pool available this year. So I think it's perfect timing. Another notch in the belt of Brandon Bean and Sean McDermott with the way that they kind of forecast the roster and listen, it's a big defensive tackle draft.
Hmm.
We've got a lot of spots open right now. It's Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, and Dwayne Carter, and that's it.
Hmm.
So we've got at least 2 spots, potentially 3,
Yep.
depending on who we get. And
To me, you
I
could
think
never
we're
be
in
deep
good
enough
money.
at that position, and it's also not even just about depth. Whittle depth has really not been our issue. To me, it's the impact, right? That's
Yes.
we need that. Like we talk about you've talked about Deion Walker before, really anybody, and that's the kind of impact guy I'm looking for. What he could be, right? A game wrecker. That's that's been our problem in the playoffs. To me, is that's when we get exposed against the best of the best, and that's what Bean has to find a way, either trade or in the draft, to find even just one of those guys.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that there are some guys that you're going to stumble upon that fall in love with football and or that are already in love with football. They're going to hit you. They're going to hit this. They're going to hit their teams. They're going to hit the right system,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just going to stand out. They're going to separate themselves from the rest of the class. So, um, yeah, I don't know what that comment is like.
I'm not
Yeah, I
sure.
don't know. But it's, yeah, but whatever.
We'll leave it for the ball.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you want to, Tara, appreciate you tapping in, but if you want to elaborate what that means, I mean, we can, I guess, talk about it. I don't know. But anyway, McDermott's inter. Did we talk? We talked about McDermott's
Yes,
interview.
we did.
Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm. We
All right,
didn't talk
Brandon
about
Bean's
Brandon Bean.
interview.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Brandon Bean talked about the cap. He talked about well, he got the Shakir deal, the extension done, and he talked about that. He talked
Mm-hmm.
about the young guys that are coming up. Obviously, he talked about, he took questions on the Miles Garrett stuff and about adding players to the roster. And I thought a question that was pretty telling was like, Brandon, do you want to add speed? I think Sal asked the question. He was like, do you think that we need to add speed? Are you looking to add speed to the roster or something along those lines? And Brandon Bean was like, yeah, I'm always looking to add speed, but when he says but, that to me means, that's not a priority.
Mm-hmm.
Speed is not the priority. I think it should be in
Agree.
certain aspects, but Bean wants good football players first, and I gotta respect that. Um, Without speed, the Buffalo Bills were the second highest scoring offense in the NFL last year. We
Mm-hmm.
typically have a top 10 defense without a ton of speed on the field. So I'm looking at uh, the approach of Brandon Bean this year in the draft to um, I think he's going to be more aggressive. I don't think he's going to sit back and just. I think he'll sit back in the first round, but
Mm-hmm.
after that, I think he's going to go get who he wants to go get. I mean, we've got a plethora of picks, man, and um, I'm not sure that we're going to use them. I don't know if we even have space for all of those
Yeah,
guys.
that's the thing. Last year we had a lot of we. How many players did we draft last year? 9 or 10, I believe it
Right,
was. Right. So
right.
how many spots do we really have realistically? And we haven't even talked about free agency yet. So how many are we gonna have after that? We may sign one or two, starters this year or trade for somebody, and that's gonna shrink that number even more. So I mean, if you're telling me we get 5 excellent picks in this draft pool from rounds 2 to 4 or 5, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. We don't necessarily need to have
And
seventh rounders or 6 rounders.
Chris, I got Wari going in the second as well. And not because his talent level. I just think I think it's positional value for the safety. I think teams are gonna attack the defensive line and wide receiver. I think wide receiver will get tapped into pretty quickly as well. After the first 10 to 15 picks, I think you'll start seeing some receivers come off the board. This is a big running back draft as well. So there's a chance that a running back, Genty may go in the first round. There's also a chance that another running back sneaks in at the back of the first round to a team that needs one, like maybe you know the Chargers. They need a running back. Uh, the Chiefs the Chiefs probably want to get a running back at some point in this draft. Um, so
You
there are a
could
few teams I think will be looking at
you could also see a
some of
team
those.
like the Giants or the Raiders who may want a quarterback if they pass early. Let's say
Right.
one of that guy like Jackson Dart falls down
They
to
may
30
want to
for some
trade
reason.
back in,
They will
right?
say because you
Yeah.
want that fifth year, right? So important these
Yep.
teams, which makes sense, right? So that's something else they could stay early second round. And I think Bean would be up for that as long as his guys are still available. If he feels comfortable, they're going to be plenty available. So I'm all for
Especially
that.
if especially if he can pick up a third round pick because we traded hours away.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and that third round pick could end up being a linebacker or a defensive tackle, Deion Walker. It could be anybody,
My God.
and
We got to speak that into
but
existence, Little. I really want Deion
bro,
Walker on this team.
yeah,
For you
I
more
think
than
the
anybody
upside,
else.
the ceiling is too crazy for him.
It is. Yeah.
Um, and the closer we get to the draft, like after the combine's done, and next week we got the Oregon guy coming on. He'll talk Oregon football next week.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I think I'm gonna lock in a couple of offensive line and defensive line coaches and have them
Nice.
come on, and we'll just kind of talk to them about some of these prospects and figure out
Fantastic.
what makes the most sense. But yeah, Brandon Bean was he talked a little bit about what they're looking for, and some of the guys that are coming off a contract that are up for free agency, Amari Cooper, all these other guys, and Bean didn't give up a ton, and I don't expect him to, but you know he did mention Kyer Elam. He said things haven't gone the way that the Bills that him and McDermott envisioned it to go, and it didn't go the way that Kyer expected it to go either.
Mm-hmm.
I read into that probably a little too much. I don't think Kyer is completely done with this team. I know that a lot of people want Kyer out of here. I don't think that Kyer. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyer got a shot at being the starter next year. Obviously, he'd have to go in and win the job. He'd have to be really, really good because there's so much bad tape on him. Um, really, just from a couple of games, but it's glaring, especially the AFC Championship game. Like it was glaring. So,
Yes.
um, I do think he gets an opportunity. I think he'll get a shot at it. I think we'll draft a guy, and I think we may even sign a guy. And
Mm-hmm.
then they'll go out and may the best man win, and whoever
Yep.
that is whoever it is.
The other thing is they're going to weigh the trade value versus what they think he can do. I mean, if they're not going to just give him away, if they still feel he could be a part of this team, I mean, what is a late, right? I mean, what if you can't even get a 7th round or 6th round pick for him at this point? Is that
Right.
worth it? For and listen, he is a 1st round pick of Brandon Bean, and these GMs they put a lot of time and effort into the time he put into drafting him in the first place. So there's still a belief that he could get it done. I mean, I would love to see it, but again, it's a results business, as we know, and the NFL means not for long for a reason. So
Right.
he's got to this is a make or break year for him, and even a guy like Dalton Kincaid you talked earlier. I mean, not to talk about him again, but I think we really need to see something out of him this year. Otherwise, we're going to start hearing whispers. Was he a reach at 20 where we picked him in the first round? And I think that's fair to say.
Who?
Dalton Kincaid. I mean, I know he's been injured. I know he's had issues, but at some point we need to see the production, right? That we
Yeah.
talked about or thought of. Listen, he's not going to be Travis Kelce. Okay, he's not going to
Well,
in his prime.
well,
He's not. But what we need 65. I mean, we need to see 60s. We need to see more touchdowns. Otherwise, I want to see Dawson Knox back in that role a little bit more again, because he was producing at a 60, 70 reception clip for double-digit TDs when he was a starter and getting the targets.
Yeah, well, so I never liked the Dalton Kincaid pick. I didn't think we needed to pick a tight end that high. I was hoping that we would have addressed defensive tackle
Yep.
or safety at that spot. Couple of key players that went after Dalton Kincaid was drafted: Monty Smith, defensive tackle out of Michigan, nose tackle, 330 pounds, 6'3", went to the Dallas Cowboys after we took Dalton Kincaid. Brian Branch, safety for the Detroit Lions,
Yep.
went in the second round. I think he went at the end of the first, or might have been the second round. I think it might have been like
Nice.
early second. He went after Dalton Kincaid and Super Bowl champion Nolan Smith, who I actually wanted. Who, after he ran that I think he ran a 4.36 at the combine.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, 6'3", 4.36. I want that guy. So whatever. But we didn't get him. We ended up getting Dalton Kincaid. I was not completely fooled by year one. I thought year one for Kincaid, they kind of force fed him. Part of it was Dawson Knox getting hurt. Another part of it was I think the offense was kind of in transition, and they built the offense, tried to build it around the short passing game, which I think is where that's kind of his wheelhouse. Another thing about Dalton Kincaid that I'm not really a fan of, I think Dalton Kincaid. I think Dalton Kincaid crowds the area that a guy like Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir and these running backs can excel in. Um, if you go back and watch Keon Coleman, when he's catching the ball over the middle of the field, there's no safety there. And the reason why is because in college, Johnny Wilson was on the other side and he was 6'7". He ran a 4.4, like 8 or something like that at the combine, or maybe a 4.5. But 6'7", running that fast, the safety's got to pay attention to that. So he was getting a lot of one-on-one, clear open field opportunities across the middle of the field, and he excelled at that. Trey Benson was the running back there, Florida State. So you probably want to bring a guy down in the box, one of the safeties down in the box, to make sure that Trey Benson doesn't get loose. So, that and Jordan Travis he was a solid college quarterback. He was a good college quarterback. So, unfortunately, we don't have the personnel in Buffalo to free up that type of space consistently for a guy like Coleman. And I think a lot of it has to do with Kincaid's play style. I like Dawson Knox a little bit better because Dawson Knox is more of a deep threat. Dawson Knox is an athletic mismatch for a lot of guys. He's too big for the corners that can stay with him, and he's too quick. He's too athletic for the linebackers who are big enough to deal with his size. So having that, I thought that drafting Coleman, having Dawson Knox as the starter, kind of makes things a little bit easier on a guy like Coleman to get some of those drag routes, some of those middle of the field crossers, etc. Um, But one of the things that Sean McDermott spoke about when it comes to Dalton Kincaid was play strength. Kincaid was drafted around 240 pounds. He was around 240 pounds this year as well. That's not good enough in the
Agree.
NFL. That's not going to be good enough for a starting tight end. The
Yep.
other issue with that size is when you come in the game, you're kind of a scheme giveaway because they know if you're the tight end, it's unlikely that we're running the football. if you're the only
Mhm.
tight end on the field, it's unlikely that the Bills are going to run because he's not the greatest blocker. He's a willing blocker, just not really, just not that great at it. So,
Mhm. I like this
with
comment from
that being said,
Chris, right?
yeah,
And this is kind of how I feel about Kincaid a little bit, right? Like, do you ever feel like, oh, I just want to see more, right? You know, he's got the body size, he's got this and that, and I feel like I just want to see him like that. That's like a big nut going to see Elijah one. I get his point, right? If you have those tools, use them, right? I feel like maybe I don't know if maybe it's a scheme thing, maybe it's what they're telling him to do, Whittle, and I just want to see him refine those tools of being those skills of being a tight end and take it to the next level. And
yeah.
again,
I
yes,
mean,
he's had injuries, we get it, but this is a big year for Dalton Kincaid, in my opinion, in terms of where he's going to
yeah.
be on this roster going forward.
Well, his his average depth of target really wasn't.
Hmm.
It was around 8. It was around 8 or 9 yards. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
typical for a tight end. It's kind of what you want.
Hmm.
But at the, at the same time, you kind of want Shakir's number as A dot to be around there as well. You kind of want Keon Coleman's A dot to be around 8 or 9 yards, and that's just one too many guys in that area of the field. Um, if it was up to, I think the Bills 2 years in a row made some errors in the draft in the first round. I think they panicked and they took Kaya Elam when they could have went a different route with that pick, or trade back and got more picks and got a different guy that kind of fits the scheme a little bit more. I was pushing for um, Tariq Woolen at that spot,
I
but
remember. Yep. Hmm.
hey, actually I was pushing for um Christian Watson, and then I wanted us to take my guy in the second round, Tariq Woolen. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's the thing.
That's a good
He's
point
not a
there,
big tight
gents.
end. He's a short,
Hmm.
intermediate player that right. Yeah, he doesn't know how to exploit zone, can't find split. Yep, knocks a deep threat. Yeah, yep, 100%. And
Hmm.
that's where I'm at with Kincaid. I just think that Kincaid. I think they took Kincaid because they wanted to get Josh a safety blanket, and
Hmm.
you that's what Shakir turned out to be. So
Yeah.
you kind of double dip
Whittle,
there.
not to turn this into a Kincaid show, but real quick, I want to ask you: did you see? I think I saw it was. I think it was a guy from Cover One said trade Kincaid in the package to get a guy like Micah Parsons. Now, listen, I don't know if the Bills could ever do that, but what I'm asking you is, if you were the GM of the Bills, if Dalton Kincaid had good value out there, would you consider moving him if you're going to package him to get a guy of that ilk, for our defense? Would you be comfortable doing that, or do you stay?
100%, hundred
Yeah,
percent.
I agree with you.
I
Hmm.
Listen. If it was me, I would call Washington up right now and say, "Hey, Dalton Kincaid for Jonathan Allen. We'll give you a fourth. You give us a third. Like a
Hmm.
future fifth or a future sixth or whatever, because Dalton still got a number of years left on his deal, and he's also got the 5th-year option. So I would call him up and say, hey, listen, this is
Hmm.
we'll take him. We'll take the older player at a position of need that we have. You take the younger player with more contract, and they drafted Ben
That's
Simmons.
true.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
But
Okay.
still,
All right. All right.
Maybe Dallas is
All
a
right.
team to consider, Whittle, right? And he asked if
Yeah.
we're gonna draft a cornerback too. I mean, I would say for agency or
Yes.
draft, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the two. One way or another, we're getting a quarterback
I
soon.
do think so.
Yep.
But yeah, I would explore the market for a guy like Kincaid. Because
Hmm.
again, I think the production that we get out of Kincaid can be spread out between Shakir and Coleman, and we'll be fine.
Hmm.
Um, we could just draft another tight end to come in and be
Yeah.
a
A
blocking
blocking.
slash
Yeah.
receiving
Exactly.
threat. You know that
Hmm.
that you know fits kind of the mold of what Dawson Knox is.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I
100%.
would do.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't
It'll be
know.
interesting. We'll see. You never know. Anything is a possibility. So,
All right, so we're gonna take care of this ad situation that
okay.
we have.
Yep, we're gonna pay our bills. The Bills fans are gonna pay the bills, as they say, right, Whittle?
Yep.
Little quick spot. Then we'll move on into the next topics.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for that. And thank you to our sponsors. And Whittle, we are back for part 2.
Yeah, we'll get into. Go ahead. 77 what?
Nope. At 77 episodes. Can you believe it? 77.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Khalil Shakir extension. I like Brandon Bean for getting that done and then coming out after the extension. Like, listen, and shout out to Chris for tapping into the Jeremy and Joe WGR show today. I got into a little back and forth with Jeremy. No hard feelings there or whatever. But they don't think that this deal for Shakir is a big deal. They think it's just a solid deal. I disagree. I think it's an absolute steal. I think when you look at when you look at what wide receivers are making that are productive wide receivers, even slot guys are getting paid. I think you have to be honest and say, $32 million is guaranteed out of the deal. Like, yes, it looks like all right. Well, if you look at APY or the value, the year value of what was announced, it was 4 years, like $60 million. So it's $15 million a year. Cool. That's a good deal for Shakir because I think his value was between 16 and 18 or somewhere around there. So getting him at 15, perfect. Like, okay, that's fair deal. But I look at the guaranteed money, and the guarantees are $8 million per year. 4 years, $32 million guaranteed. So, if let's say he was to miss an entire season for whatever reason, we're only on the hook for $8 million. You still have a good amount of money. I think you've saved enough to go and now get a replacement for him in that season and not say, I gotta take a 33-year-old vet minimum guy. No, you can go out and make a trade. You can trade a 4th round pick and get a guy that maybe costs, $7 or $8 million, but he's gonna be a productive player. Yeah, somebody you might want to consider keeping around. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it was a good deal. I think if he sees the entire 15, it's because the Bills have an elite offense, and I'm happy. If Shakir's getting 15, the Bills are filling the scoreboard up, right? He's got 70 plus catches. He's got close to 1,000 yards. He's got a number of touchdowns. Yeah, and that's why I looked at it. I said,
Yep.
St. Brown got 4 years, $30 million per, like 120. Even if you
Hmm.
look at just the guarantees, it's 4 years and 77, which is what, 19 and
Yep.
19 and a half, something like that. That's
Yep.
still like, that's still crazy. That's still crazy money. And again, I think the production for Shakir and the production for Keon Coleman is hampered by Dalton Kincaid's presence. Not that I
Yeah.
want not that I'm saying that Dalton Kincaid shouldn't be on the team. I would trade him. I think he has value, and I think it would open up things for other guys. And it's just one less guy we have to pay for. And I think I think there's good value for him right now.
Hmm.
But I
Hey,
think
you
if
know
he
what?
had more
This is
targets.
right now. Khalil Shakir. I'm looking at the per year. He's 26 in the NFL right now per year, $15 million. 26th.
Right.
That's of right now. What do you think that's going to be in 6 months? 35, 36? You know, about 10 guys are going to pass him.
Yep.
So is Khalil Shakir in that realm? Absolutely. Like I don't. He had almost 80 catches. He could have been close to 1,000 yards, 900 yards, and the production and the things he does on and off the field. He's one of the leaders in this team now. He's an excellent blocker. I'm perfectly okay with this deal. I think right now it looks a little bit high, but get back to me. Let's circle back in 4 or 5 months when when guys like T Higgins is that excellent receiver, but you know how much money he's going to bank? And guys, if
Right.
you know, with all the extra cap money that you've been talking about for the last few weeks, it's going to be unbelievable how much money this contract's going to look great very very soon. I promise you.
Now it already, and I'm sorry, it already looks great. It looks great to
Yeah,
me already.
absolutely. But even to
Yeah.
some
So
skeptics, maybe say, it's a touch high or something like that. I tell you, wait 6 months and then let's have this conversation again. Even if you're in that camp of it's a little bit high.
right, right. So um, if we're looking at like the best, like the top slot receivers in the NFL, you're looking at guys like St. Brown. Uh, I'm still gonna put Christian Kirk in that group, even though he didn't have a great year. Uh, Obviously some quarterback issues with that. CD Lamb plays a good amount in the slot, so I guess we can put him there. Jerry Judy plays a lot in the slot. Um, while he was JSN is another guy that you look at. But I think Shakir Keenan Allen is another guy that plays a ton in the slot. But Shakir's right there with those guys. I mean, he's right up there with in catches. And on top of that, the guy catches 70 something percent, 75 plus percent of the targets thrown his way. I mean, you just don't. I'm sorry, like you just don't. You just don't find that often, and you don't find it for $8 million a year. Like
Hmm.
you know,
Absolutely.
and we have that. So he's locked in,
Hmm.
and I'm really happy about that. I think Brandon
Yep.
Bean did a good job. Um,
And you know what? He
Tiff
fits
says
what
Tiffany
Josh is
Hinton.
comfortable with him too. Josh is comfortable with him. That means a lot.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
organization, the locker room, and that you pay for that. That's extra dollars. I mean, it really is. Would you rather bring somebody else in from another organization who may or may not fit well? Maybe he's not going to jive with Josh Allen. Didn't we have this a little bit before with number 14 a little bit? As much as again, I'm not going to slam on 14 all the time, but we kind of just went through this already. So I'll take this all day long. I'm pretty excited about it.
Right, right. Yeah, Tiffany says I would love Azarie Thomas. You know what?
Mhm.
I haven't watched enough of him. Um, but prototypical size for a corner. I do think that I think he's the perfect build for a Buffalo Bills corner.
Mm.
I'm not sold on his ability to function in the Bills defense all the time. Yeah, I'm not I'm still looking, man. You know, when it comes to corners, this year, you know what my top guys are. And it's based on who I think we're gonna be able to get. So
Hmm.
it's Johnny Barron is my number one. Like
Hmm.
what I love about Barron is he can do pretty much everything. You can put him at
Yep.
safety if you need to. You can throw him at. I think you get him and you start him at outside corner. In year one, uh, you talking about Johnny Barron? Well, anyway, we'll talk more about Barron later. But Barron to
Hmm.
me is like that's my number one guy. Number two, Trey Amos. We talked about Trey Amos last week. The only thing that I have, Barron's Texas. We're gonna get into him in a few.
Thank you.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah. Texas. Trey Amos talked about him last week. I just think the instincts are off the hook. I'm worried about the long speed, but everything else, I think he's great. I think you get McDermott on him, and he becomes a better tackler. I think his technique gets tightened up, and I think you have two similarly built and similar style corners in Benford and Amos. If you get both those guys on the outside, that that would be a dream come true. But and then after that, I think my third guy would be Siobhan Ravel from ECU. I'm a little worried about the medical. Um,
Mm.
because he had the ACL that he tore. I mean, his doctor wrote a letter and said that he'd be fully ready to participate this year in the league. There's no setbacks, things like that. So I mean, that's good, but it's your doctor, bro. I don't, we don't believe your doctor yet. We got to take a look at the medical. And I'll
Yep.
be curious to see. I'll be curious to see if he runs or what he does in the draft combine. I'll be curious to see if he participates.
Very true.
So, but Barron's the guy from Texas. And since we're there now, we
Hmm.
might as well hope Morrison has some physical, the medical. Yeah, Jared, this Morrison, he's a man corner, and I worry about play strength. I worry about him being able to uh fill in against the run. Like I'm worried about tackling. The hip injury scares me. Like the hip injury scares the crap out. It really, really does.
Hmm.
Um, but hip for a corner is huge. That does scare me. But I mean, look, you go back and watch him in 2023. Benjamin Morrison was a dog. Like day one, he touched down in Notre Dame. They had him on the field, so you know.
Hmm.
You gotta
It
give
could
him
be a
credit
later
for
pick,
that.
right, Whittle? If the Bills are in that position where they could take a
Oh
flyer on him,
no,
I mean, what
nah,
you know?
he's
Where do you
not.
think he's going to
He
go?
won't get out of the second round. He won't get
He
out of the
won't even.
second
Oh,
round.
okay. He won't get a second round. Okay.
Yeah, he won't get out of the second round.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna check it out. You talking about the Ohio State game from last year? I'll check it out. I'll check it out. I know he was. I do remember vaguely. Um, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he like erase Ibuka last year? It was Ibuka or somebody else. It was another one of their wide receivers last year. Yeah. I remember that was I think it wasn't the national championship game. It was the playoff, it was the college football playoffs though, I think it was. And yeah, he erased. He erased it. Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
Harrison, he erased him from the game, bro. Erased
Hmm.
him. So yeah. But yep, Marvin Harrison, yeah. He took him out of the game. He pulled a Legarius Sneed on Stephon Diggs, man. pulled him for sure. But all right, let's get into the Texas guys. Um, so we'll start with the guy I think is going to go first, and that would be Jahdae Barron. We talked a little bit about him. 5'11", 200 pounds. They have him listed as safety. The 40 time is important. The 40 time is very important. I'm not gonna play any highlights or cut ups or things like that because the last time we did it, it messed up the the feed. Like it was kind of choppy. But for sure, like listen, he's a monster. Like he's a very, very good player. Again, he's a guy that you can put anywhere. You can put him in safety. You can put him inside in the nickel. You can blitz him. You can put him in man coverage. He's not the greatest in man, but he's good enough to where I would be comfortable starting him opposite of uh, Christian Benford. And long term, I think he replaces Taron Johnson. And then you just go out and find another outside boundary guy, and you're good to go. Ball skills definitely there. His instincts. I don't know if they're up there with Trey Amos. Like they're both super intelligent players, very very good in coverage, very very good at recognizing route combinations. Um, He's one of those guys that remind like just like kind of like Terrence Johnson. He has a knack for being where the football is all the time. Every single time there's a tipped pass going over the middle of the field. If you're playing against Texas, you got to watch to see where Jahdae is because he will. He either knock the ball in the air or he's trying to run up under it. He's one of those players. So and they played him everywhere, man. He played safety there. They played him at inside in the slot. They played him on the outside this year. Like he plays everywhere. He's a dog.
You know
Day
what?
one starter.
The other quick thing is, well, I'm reading he logged over 2,400 defensive snaps.
Yeah,
Barron. So ready, you get a guy that maybe out of the box, so to speak, right? Could be ready to step in. Right?
He just started day one.
Yeah. So that. I think that's something the Bills will really covet. Where you don't want to have a project for a couple of years, 2 years. We're in our Super Bowl window right now. We want guys to come in and produce right away. So
yeah,
hey, it's up, Q.
Yep.
Just saying hello to Q in our.
What up? What up? What's up, Q? All right. So next guy, Matthew Golden, 6 feet, 194. Again, 40. Well, I'm not gonna say 40 time. I don't really care what his 40 time is. As long as it's in that 4.4, 4.5 range, yeah. Like he may go in the first round. If he doesn't, he's good. He won't make it to 56. He's not gonna make it to 56. What can I say about Matthew Golden? Excellent route runner. Reliable hands. He's got that kind of speed that he can run away from you. Man, he's so good. He's a wide receiver one. This is I don't want to comp him to Stephon Diggs, but it's like that. Like his route running is there. I think he's a stud. I think if you get him in Buffalo, the offense is perfect. It's perfect. You re-sign Cook, you bring Cook back, not for $15 million. Draft a guy like Matthew Golden. I think the offense is great. He's a guy that can take the top off the. Remember we talked about Trey Harris last week. We said he's a 3-level route winner. Matthew Golden is a 3-level route winner. He's a stud, absolute stud. If he's there at 30 and they picked him, I couldn't be mad. I would not be upset. I would probably want a different player there, but I couldn't be upset. But that's a name to pay attention to. Matthew Golden is going to be, depending on the situation he goes to, I think he's going to be one of the better receivers. I will put a couple dollars on him to win Rookie of the Year because I think he's going to have that level of impact. You saw what Malik Neighbors did. And I'm not saying that Matthew Golden is Malik Neighbors, but Matthew Golden is really, 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 really good. Really, really good. I like him a lot. I like his release ability. I like the fact that he's physical enough to play through press.
Mm-hmm.
He will make plays in contested catch situations. He's not a finesse. He's not a finesse type of receiver. He's an all around. He's an all around get it done receiver. I like this guy a lot. Right. The next Texas prospect is Alfred Collins. 6'5", 320. I don't know if he's going to run a 4.95. I don't care if he runs a 4.95.
Yeah.
If he
too
runs a
early.
5'1", I don't care. If he runs a 5'2", I don't care because he is a football player. He's exactly the type of player from a size and skill set standpoint that Buffalo needs. He is a plus he is a plus run defender on the inside. He is athletic enough to play on the edge. His arms are. I'll be curious to see what his arms measure in at. Those are the things I'm paying attention to tomorrow. But on film, you can see the arm length where he keeps interior offensive linemen at bay, disengages, makes plays in the run game. Very, very good. Very, very good interior player. And I was sold when this young man did a backflip after making a play from a full, just like standing there. Like no running start, no, no, he didn't have to wind up and it just backflip. Backflip. It was crazy. To be that big and to be able to do something like that is absolutely insane. But he fits a need for the Buffalo Bills. I look at him as a high floor, solid ceiling. I don't know if he'll ever be. I don't know if he'll ever be Jeffrey Simmons or I don't know. I don't know if he'll ever be a 10 to 12 sack guy from the interior. I don't know if he'll ever be Justin Madubuike. But he's good. He's good. He's a good player that will give Oliver some much needed support on the inside and allow Oliver to be a better player. He's a guy like Alfred Collins is going to help our edges get home as well. The guy can push the pocket. He's strong, physical, and he's an athlete. If you single cover, if you single block him, you're asking to get somebody hurt, and it's somebody on your offense. So I like him a lot. The next guy that I think is going to come off the board. Well, you got anything on Collins?
No, I'm just watching his highlights right now as we're talking here, and yeah, I see. I think, and that's the whole key about what you're saying about the compliment to Ed Oliver. That's everything. For any Bills fans out there looking at D tackles, you have to looking at. We need a guy that's going to be a space eater that can help our linebackers as well. That's something, like I said, that's the prototypical size we really lack, and I think it shows up a little bit, especially against the top tier teams in the league. So. That's exactly what I'm looking for here. And and these points that Jens bring up, again, versatile, very athletic. Those are things that, those fill the Billsy type moves. And that's the thing, when you really think about narrowing down who Brandon Beane's going to look for, those are the kind of things that those buzzwords, if they're not there, I would be willing to tell you, we're probably not going to be looking at those type of players. Come draft time. So I would be very happy. Would you be happy picking him in the first round, or are you looking at him more as a second round?
No, yeah, he's the second round guy, yeah.
Okay.
He's a second round guy. Well, all right. Well, let's move on to the next guy who I think is going to come off the board. Wide receiver Isaiah Bond, transferred to Texas from University of Alabama, where he was a wide receiver in a pretty crowded wide receiver room. In 2023, you had what's the guy that plays for the yeah, you had Jermaine Burton out there. Isaiah Bond was there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm missing somebody else. I can't remember the other guy, but Isaiah Bond, them Texas, listen, the NIL money in Texas is crazy. And they
Oh, it's
plucked him
massive.
right out of Alabama.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, folks, this 40 time is what's expected. I'll be paying very close attention to him and that 40 time because I think this is somebody that if the Bills did add this guy to the roster, he makes a lot of sense. Just from the standpoint
Yeah.
of being able to open up things for the rest of the offense. Like this is a guy that's gonna make sure the team staying too high. They're not gonna be able
Mm-hmm.
to go single high with him on the field
Whittle,
because he's gonna hurt you.
is this the guy like very much like the guy everybody talked about that we passed on last year and made a trade
No,
with in the
no,
first
he's
round? Is
like
he like
20
Xavier
pounds.
Worthy, or is he a little bit like him in a sense, or not really in that particular case?
So Bond is fast. He's not like Worthy is fast, but he's quick as well. Like when I
Mm-hmm.
say quick, I mean that start and stop stuff, like the
Okay.
Tyreek Hill, where he's going 90 miles an hour, stops, turns 90 miles an hour in the opposite direction. Isaiah Bond's not like that. Bond is tip like from like what watching him, it's kind of more like a build up speed type thing. Um,
Okay.
his double move is vicious though. Like I watched him. I watched him. Use that double move on. I want to say Auburn. I think it was against Auburn, and um, yeah, it was one play he beat. He got down the field, or maybe no, this was. I'm sorry, Michigan. Michigan. Um,
Mm-hmm.
double move on Michigan for a huge game. Got down the field, and then like 2 or 3 plays later, they ran the same double move again, and the corner like basically bear hugged him to not allow him to get up the field. No flag. So I mean, it might have been the same refs that ref the AFC Championship game. But the guy is super fast. Like he is a fast guy. He's a guy that has speed that defenses have to plan for. They have to respect. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Hands are not the greatest, but they're not bad either. Like he makes catches with the in contact, and he makes catches with some contact. He's not a super finesse guy. He's not the smallest guy, but he's not the biggest guy either. I think
Mm-hmm.
he could stand to put on a few more pounds and function as a outside receiver at the next level. I think if you throw him in the slot and run him, deep corners, overs, fades, etc., I think he could cook there. Which the Bills could do. But Isaiah Bond is somebody I'm paying attention to. I think he's a third round pick, mid to late
Mm-hmm.
third round. Um, if he runs a sub 4.340, he's going to be gone. I don't think he gets out of the second round.
I agree.
That speed is, the speed and the pedigree will be enough to carry him through the. Now, if he other thing is if he goes through the gauntlet and has like 3 or 4 drops, that might be, that's going to matter. His his gauntlet, route running drills, things like that. How well he tracks the deep ball, they'll test that at the combine. If he's good on those and he runs a sub 4.340, he's going in the second round easily.
Mhm.
That's guaranteed. He's going in the second round, and I don't know if he gets to 56. I don't think he gets to us.
Agree.
So that is Isaiah Bond.
Mhm.
The final prospect, and I know these are not the only prospects that the University of Texas had.
Mhm.
So don't come for me and say, oh, there's more guys. You didn't look at everybody. Yeah, I don't care about the rest of those guys because the rest of those guys don't really fit a need that we have. So I'm I do like that safety though. I don't know if Taft is coming out. I don't think he is, but I do like their safety. If he's not coming out this year, he'll be coming out next year. That's somebody I would look at. But Barron Sorrell, 6'4", 260, 475. I would love to get this guy at the top of the fourth round. I know it says linebacker, but he is a defensive end. He will be a 4-3 defensive end in the NFL. He can play 4-3 defensive end. He can also
Mhm.
play as a 3-4, outside linebacker. You can throw him there as well. Um, all the tools, all of them. Not he's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he has sufficient bend. Uh, really good pass rush plan. Good usage of his hands, counters. He counters well to offensive linemen. Good nose for the football. Hell of a motor. Um, Solid tackler. I said the pass rush plan already. I'm going to say it again. I'm impressed with his pass rush plan. Uh,
Mhm.
I think if we were to draft him in the fourth round, he's starter opposite of Rousseau, and I think he's a 6 or 7 sack guy. Year one, in Buffalo. Not everywhere. I don't if he goes to, Atlanta, I don't think he's getting 6 or 7 sacks in year one.
Mhm.
But I think he can get 6 or 7 sacks in Buffalo year one. Especially if we address the defensive tackle position the way it looks like they're trying to do with the meetings that they've taken so far. So
Oh
um
yeah.
if he's sitting there in the fourth round, I would take him. One thing I like about Sorrell, when you go and watch his film, you'll see there are times where he will drop in coverage from off the line. He can run stunts. You can swing him inside if you need to, and he's adequate spinning inside and playing as a three tech. If you want to put together like a NASCAR package or whatever with uh, him, Rousseau, Ed, and Javon Solomon. I could see that. Um,
Mhm.
I like him. I think he's a good player. Uh, day three, early fourth round guy. Um, More likely he goes in the third. Unless he tests poorly. I'm hoping that he does test poorly, so he gets to the fourth round and we really have a shot at grabbing him early in the fourth round. That would be ideal. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, heck of a prospect. I like him a lot, man. I would uh I would take him with that early fourth round pick that we got from Chicago. That would be a dream come
Mhm.
true. Um, so you got any questions for me, bro, or about
No,
these
just
guys or what?
just no, just reading about him. I said I like the versatility, like you said. Maybe he is a guy that could play defensive end or maybe even linebacker. But he's very durable too. That's another thing. Whittle, very tough, and he's available. So those are the things you're looking for, right? When you draft these guys in the fourth, fifth round. So yeah, I would sign off on Sorrell as well. Just
Yeah,
watching some
that
of his highlights in the background here. So
That's the guy, Ja'Cory Brooks. Thank you, Jared. Ja'Cory Brooks, who
Mm-hmm.
transferred to Louisville, I believe, and he's coming out. And he probably should have stayed at Alabama because
Mm-hmm.
it's looking like Ja'Cory's gonna go day 3. Along with my guy Zachary Franklin, who's
Mm-hmm.
gonna go. He's a undrafted / late date, 6th round, 7th round pick, I think. And he didn't get an invite to the combine.
Mm-hmm.
I think his medicals are going to be important. He's a little older because he's in his 6th season in college, and because he lost his season last year basically because of hip injury, well, not hip injury,
Mm-hmm.
but some knee injury or whatever. So, um, yes, Kari Franklin. I'm always gonna hype him. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always going to hype Zachary Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
I think he screwed up, man. If I was one of his people, I would have told him, dog, go just leave. After that last year at UTSC, I think he had like 93 catches, 1,300
Yeah.
yards, and like 11 or 12 touchdowns. It was ridiculous.
Monster.
Bro, just go to the
Monster.
league. Yeah,
Yep.
you'll go in the late 3rd, early 4th. You'll get an invite to the combine. You'll run your 40 around 4 or 5, and teams gonna look at you and say, "Yeah, he's an X receiver. Let me get that. I'll get it in the 4th round, and that's a steal."
All right.
Dude's hands are
That's my
like,
dream, Whittle. 6th, 7th round. We grab Zachary
bro.
Franklin. That's what I want.
Listen, when they measure this guy's hands, he's got defensive lineman size hands
Wow.
for at wide receiver. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
man has oven mitts for hands. So, I'm looking forward to his pro day, and yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be good. But moving on, moving on. The NFLPA player
Mm-hmm.
grades for the franchise came out for the franchises,
Yes,
and
they
oh
did.
boy, yeah, you wanna get
Uh,
into this a little bit?
Absolutely, we can. Tiffany, thank you so much, and I couldn't agree more. I, I feel like I'm at school when I listen to Whittle about the draft. This is, where I start doing deep dives on guys we're discussing, and just want to give a shout out to Whittle. So thank you so much, and again, Tiffany, thanks for listening, and to everyone in our group chat. You guys have been great as always, even in the slowest time of the off season. It's rocking here. Just wait till March gets here. Wait till we have lots more content, lots more to discuss, and after the combine, after free agency, and then we get deep, really deep into the draft. So we're just getting started.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Next week we got a treat for y'all. Next week we're gonna talk about Oregon, and we're gonna have this guy's like a college football uh, prospect computer. Like, he has
Mm-hmm.
data on every college player for I don't even know how. I mean, he's been charting and following these players for like 10 years. Like, he's got like 10 years worth of data.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy talking to him. I can't wait for next week. That's going to be a lot
Let,
of fun
let's
as
just
usual.
say Whittle's going to be like a kid in the candy store next week with this guest.
Yeah,
I can't wait for it. So we're here for it. We look forward to it. It's going to be excellent. So Whittle, about these grades, anything pop out to you initially? Disappointing, concerned, surprised?
head coach. Head coach was when I looked at all of the grades, and um, do we have? Let me see. Let me see if I can find the grades. I'm gonna try to find them, and I'll put the Bills grades up. Let's see. NFL.
Sent you something probably if you want. That's a link that I found. Not sure if this is what you were looking for, but kind of breaks it down.
Here we go. All right. So I'm gonna present the screen.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with Dog here. Yeah, we need to email One Bills Drive, and we need to get Whittle in that room somewhere with Brandon Bean. I want to be watching the coverage, and I want to see Whittle in the background somewhere, kind of like the Brandon Bean's whisper, right? The one in his ear, kind of giving him those picks, right, Dog? That's exactly what I'm looking for as well.
Now y'all not putting my address on. No, nope. Bills Mafia won't put my address on the internet for everybody to come and get me when one of these guys don't
Oh no, no,
pan
we'll
out.
keep.
No thanks. No
Uh-oh.
thanks.
And look who the
Yeah,
Bills
I know
met
they
with
met with
as
Mike Green, and I
Kevin.
purposely left that out, Kevin. I purposely left him out. Okay,
Yeah.
I purposely left him out. All right,
Shout out to Kevin, and I love how Kevin picked up on
Mike
that right
Green.
away.
I knew somebody was gonna bring it up, man. I knew it. Um, but anyway, all right. So
Excellent.
the Bills report card for 2025
Hmm.
overall, and this is the players. Like these are the players ranking the team, based on
Hmm.
the categories that they're given. So it says the Buffalo Bills ranked 23rd in this year's report card, placing them in the bottom third issues that players previously raised in yearly report card surveys have not been addressed and thus have become greater concerns to the players with the passage of time. All right, so
Hmm.
yeah, this is just like getting into the weeds uh of the breakdown of the group or whatever, the breakdown of the grade. So um yeah, the players love Miami. The players love Miami because they don't require them to do anything football related. They just say, "Oh man, look, have fun on
Hmm.
South Beach, and we got a game at Sunday. Just try to be here by 12 so you don't miss the kickoff." I don't know. Um, I'm sorry. I'm cool with a lot of Miami fans, with some Miami fans. So I don't want to piss them off. Um, all right. So
Hmm.
treatment of families. This was, I think, last year. This was an A. It went down. Uh, I don't know, man. I mean, I think that the absence of some of the older players from last year's team to this year may contribute with this. Like, how many of these
Hmm.
young guys are like Keanu? Had no kids. Khalil doesn't yet. Um,
Yep.
Don Kincaid, Cole Bishop, these guys. Yeah, none of these guys that like a lot of these guys don't have kids, so treatment of families
Hmm.
is whatever. I mean, they have families and their families come and things like that. So I don't know. I don't know if I don't know how it went down, but nevertheless it went down. Food and
And
dining area. What
just
was
to
up?
answer this is from our players, right? The players' feedback, right, from the NFLPA.
Yeah.
Dog had a question
Yep.
about that. So yes, that is.
Okay. Food and dining area went down as well from last year. Uh Nutritionist, dietitian, locker room, training room. So basically, guys, everything went down from the prior year. So some of these things, I mean, whatever. We're getting a new stadium in another year, so some of this stuff
Hmm.
will work itself out with the new facility. So food and
Hmm.
dining area, it's going to be better at the new building. Locker room obviously is going to be better, more updated in the new building. Training room, similar, same thing.
Yep.
Weight room is still pretty high.
Hmm.
Yeah, weight room. And yeah, so like those things will be better in the new building.
Hmm.
Now this is where what Kevin's comment is talking about. Nutritionist, dietitian, training staff,
Hmm.
strength coaches. All of those guys are fired. I expect it to be better this year. So they replaced a bunch of those. They're replacing that group. So I expect the grades this upcoming season to be a lot better than what they were this year. The a team travel, I don't know. We'll get it. Let's take a look. They said
Well, let's
they
be
said
honest.
we're
I
the
think I
worst,
think
bro.
I think Kevin has a good point here. It is harder to travel and fly out of Buffalo. I mean, listen, I live in Los Angeles area. It's not easy to even fly a direct flight to Buffalo, right? I find a lot of stuff to Toronto. Things like that, right, Whittle? So if you think about it from that point of view, it's not that surprising that is low, and the F minus also leads to making us maybe we're 18 or 17 without that F minus, and that's a major F. Look at F minus, not even F. What do they put the minus on there? I mean, that's.
Yeah.
And
We
what,
wanted
and
to
what are the
emphasize
Bills going to do about that? They
buy a
really
new
do.
plane. Buy a new
Maybe it's the
plane.
plane too. Yeah, maybe. Hmm.
Um. So yeah, it said like the breakdown says the players feel like they don't have enough space on the team. They feel that
Hmm.
team travel schedule is inefficient. Well, I mean, whatever.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, how much could
I
they
saw
really
another.
do?
I
Yeah.
saw something else where they were just like they feel like they don't like the fact that the coaches are sitting in the front, like in the first class area, while the rest of the team is sitting in the back. Like, bro, like that's man, bond with your teammates, man. I don't know. That was kind of stupid, but um,
Hmm.
the two that stand out though, right here, head coach and ownership. Now, I think the ownership part of it, I think that's gonna go up because obviously we're getting a new building, um, and I think that now that some of these younger guys are going to get paid, I think that they're going to start investing a little bit more into with the draft. Like they're going to invest in higher rated players to bring in. We're not. I don't think they're
Hmm.
going to be. We do a good job of getting guys in the later rounds, but I expect them to really emphasize either picking better players early on in the draft or using that draft capital to go and get Miles Garrett, Max Crosby, or somebody else like that. Um, I think that'll go up, bro. The McDermott one is alarming to me.
A little
Uh,
bit. Yeah, it's surprising actually, right?
right.
That does.
I just feel like yeah,
Yep,
I'm
ownership
reading some
probably
of
factors
yeah.
in. Yeah, Kevin is. Yeah, I do agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like some of the stuff that the players are talking about, like I don't understand where they get the players feel that ownership moderately contributes
Hmm.
to I mean, it's
Well,
the ownership is committed to building a competitive team. Like I
Whittle,
think
this is
we
interesting.
should be way higher than that.
And just from an ownership point of view, I mean, I do a Sabres podcast, so we know our owner shares the ownership, right? They
Hmm.
had something similar come out. Sabres didn't get very good scores, and they said that Pagula wasn't very involved with the day-to-day operations of the Sabres, which kind of goes contradictory to what we've talked about on that side at nauseum, that he's too
Yeah.
involved. So maybe what Kevin said has a lot of. I agree with Kevin saying that Bean probably has a lot more power in this case, and maybe Terry is more standoffish than a lot of people may have thought. So we could kind of direct relate that into the Bills right now as well.
Oh wow. So yeah, I was looking at somebody. a pretty popular account on Twitter got they got your account was suspended due to your account will not be restored. Wow.
For who?
NBA Centel. They be putting out a lot of BS though, but I mean it was pretty funny. It was a pretty funny
Was it
account.
rumors or something? Like
Yeah.
a rumor
No,
site
no,
or
no,
something?
no. They used to just put out like a lot of like bad information.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, not all of it was bad, but it was one of those accounts where like you rather be first than right. They'd rather be first than
Hmm.
correct. So,
Yep.
but I mean, they're out of here now. Like that account's gone. Oh well.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. The other thing too, I'm skimming through some of the other ratings here, Whittle, and Kansas City
mm,
is 26th out of 32 as well. And
yeah,
the thing that you notice is a lot of the teams, like Clark Hunt, got a pretty bad rating, but the players feel Hunt moderately uh, willingness to invest in the facilities. So facilities are a big thing, right? Houston's got a
yeah,
high rating, Detroit's got a high rating, and the facilities really do skew these numbers, right? And I think if Buffalo, like you said, you made a great point. Once they move into the new or stadium, new facilities, maybe bigger locker rooms, players want space, right? And if it's tight,
yeah.
it's old and it's antiquated. Cleveland's got very low ratings. They got an older stadium as well. They're going to move into a new stadium. So when you think about all these other teams, but I think you're right. I think the one that stands out for me is McDermott. I'm a little surprised at that one. I thought he would be higher.
Yeah, me too. I feel
Mhm.
like if things don't go well this year, that could be a problem for McDermott. Maybe I don't
Possibly.
want to say he's losing the locker room, but
Hmm.
this is alarming. This
Yep.
is alarming.
For example, the Raiders have all A's, by the way. The Raiders have a lot of A's. Like just the again, new facility, beautiful stadium,
Yep.
things like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's going to change. And but yeah, you're right though. I think, listen, with McDermott, I think he's very solid right now. There's no reason to believe that he would go anywhere. Nobody's got to say who we going to bring in, right? That's the other big thing too. There's McDermott's had his record is phenomenal. I mean, in
Mhm.
December, in big games, he's perfectly fine. But I agree. If things go really sideways this year for some reason, if we go 9-8, struggle, maybe something like that, then yeah, we're gonna have it's gonna be a totally different conversation going into next offseason.
Wait, 9-8. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm just
13
saying
and
we're
4.
not going to go 9-8, but yeah, that's what I mean. If I mean the biggest, if assuming there's no major injuries, especially to 17, things of that nature, I mean we're not going to do that. But I'm very much in the camp of I'm solid on Sean. I think we talked about this. How many times have I mentioned this? Second best winning percentage in sports since 2019. Kansas City's number one. What are we talking about? Right? I mean, that's a
Yeah.
phenomenal. I mean, we're phenomenal in terms of success since 2019. We're barely losing. And listen, I know I'm not making excuses. I'm not saying anything, but you just have to look. Again, we're not losing the 9-7 teams in the playoffs, 9-8 teams. We're not stumbling to Denver at home in the playoffs. Those things are not happening. So we're losing to maybe the greatest coach ever and one of the greatest quarterbacks ever and one of the greatest defensive minds ever, right? By 3 points, 3 points, 3 points,
Yeah. But
right?
that, like,
And
what Kevin's talking about right here, clear change of the guard with new players and 80 million in
mhm.
dead cap hurts both of these. I agree.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
I think that the Bills should have been better in the secondary last year. They weren't because of who they could afford to put out there. A lot of that had to do with, you know, cutting Poyer, cutting um Mitch Morse, um Trey White, trading Diggs, a lot of big cap hits we took last year to the tune of like 70 and some change, almost $80 million in dead cap we couldn't use on other players. So we'll I'm sure this year the team's gonna be a lot better. They got a little more. They got a little money to spend after they make some moves, and
Hmm.
we'll be competitive. We'll have better guys out there, and you hope to be in that situation again where you have the football with 3 minutes to go. Josh Allen has a bunch of timeouts, and you can put that game away. So yeah, I think all of that stuff changes. Um, I don't know about the head coach. That's something I'm going to be paying attention to this year to see, the moment this team runs into some adversity, what happens? Do these young guys say, "Man, I ain't trying to hear that, tired of losing," or I'm not trying to hear the coach. He's not, putting me in the right spots or whatever. Or do they band together like they did in 2023 and start beating, going a run? We'll see. We'll have to find out. But that's all I got, man. That's all I got.
That was quite a bit. I mean, all things considered, this is the off season. It's supposed to be the absolute slowest time of year, and yet here we are, right deep into it. And like we said, this is definitely the calm before the storm. Starting next week, we get deep. We'll recap the combine, right, Whittle? I know we'll be probably to space sometime tomorrow, Friday, getting live reactions, which I loved last year. Some of my favorite spaces last year. So hopefully we'll do that again coming up. And
Yeah.
then next week, we get into March Madness on many fronts. And we start getting in the peak of the free agency, and maybe we'll have some more signings to report. We'll have to see. I didn't expect the Shakir signing this week personally,
Right.
but we all know how Big Baller Bean operates. So sometimes in a covert situation, all of a sudden you least expect it, and bam, he hits you with an extension. So I look forward to it. It's a very exciting time of year, like we said, and after free agency, I think we'll have a clear path, and I look forward to next week having our guest on to get deep into is it Oregon prospects and other prospects as well.
Oregon.
So
Yep, Oregon.
for anybody in our group chat, you want to come next week, you have questions about players, you want to throw some comments out there, right, Whittle? Maybe some rapid fire things we could do. We'd love to have you on. So want to thank everybody in the group chat. You guys are always amazing. And that's really all I had.
All right, I'm gonna take a look at this really quickly. We see what Trey Harris is. Let me see if I can find these Texas. Well, Bond is like all the way down here, which is not good. Um, I don't see our guy. Oh, Matthew Golden is already he's way over here. So I'm gonna chalk a lot of this up to the fact that Quinn Ewers is terrible. I mean, those guys can hoop, man. Like those guys can play, and the fact that both of them are in the on the wrong side of the axis when we're looking at these you know production versus man his own coverage, it tells you a lot. A guy that we're also going to look at is this guy over here, folks. Arian Smith. I'm going to be curious to see what he runs because he's another prospect that we should be paying a little bit of attention to. Yeah, Quinn is terrible. Quinn was the quarterback for Texas.
Not a
Was really
fan.
not a good player. Hopefully the Jets draft him and start him week 1. That'd be awesome.
I
We'll
think he
see.
looks great as a top 10 pick. I mean, Quinn would be great in New Jersey at Florham Park, and
Yeah.
we all know our lurkers are around listening to this podcast. Shall be
Yeah.
not named. Whittle knows who I'm talking about. So,
Oh yeah, you talking about June?
yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right, folks. Thank you. The chat was lively. We appreciate everybody that tapped in. Thanks, Kevin, Jared, Dog for pulling up. Tiff,
Yes.
We appreciate you guys. Thank you, Do
Thank you
Champions.
so much.
Thank everybody that's watching on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, cool. If you're watching on YouTube, that's awesome too. Like and subscribe, please. That
Yep.
helps us with our algorithms
Yep.
of getting this content to many more eyes. Hey, and if you check me out on Joe and Jeremy today, or Jeremy and Joe, however they say it this morning. Jeremy, if you're listening, you're still my boy, Blue. I'm not mad at you, man. You're just wrong about your kid's contract. We'll agree to disagree on it.
Mhm.
But from us to all of the people out there that are paying attention, thank you guys as usual. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Be good, do good. What's the rest?
Be good, do good. God bless. Go Bills.
God bless and go Bills. There we go.
Yes.
Go Bills.
Let's go, everyone. Go Bills. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.